strap in, get comfy, maybe get some comfy clothes on, get your food, get your water, because you got 3 hours and 29 minutes later, The Irishman is here, and you definitely need to see it in the theaters. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to a brand new movie review. Today I'm going to be discussing The Irishman, which is directed by my personal favorite director, Martin Scorsese. Ever since an early age, my dad showed me The Goodfellas and Casino, and ever since then, it's really changed my thoughts on filmmaking. And ever since then, Scorsese has been the man that I must see his films first day. Whether it's Wolf of Wall Street, Silence, and even now The Irishman, I'm a big advocate for Marty, and I'm so happy that I got to check out The Irishman in theaters, which, if you're gonna see this film, if you love Scorsese, this is the best way to do it. Don't be discouraged because of that runtime. We're gonna talk about that runtime in a little bit, but it's a movie that I definitely cannot implore enough that you go and check out in the theaters, because yeah, you can see it on Netflix, but in the theaters, it was something special. Before we get any further into this review, guys, make sure again to hit that like and subscribe button, because I do tons of early movie reviews over here on a daily basis. Talk tons of movie content every single day. And make sure you guys, of course, comment down below and let me know. Have you guys seen The Irishman yet? Have you not? Let's discuss it down there. Irishman is about Frank Sheeran, an Irishman, of course, who gets involved with the Russell Bamfino and his Pennsylvania crime family. As Sheeran climbs the ranks to become a top hitman for the family, he also goes to work for Jimmy Hoffa, a powerful teamster tied to the organized crime. Irishman really goes over many decades of Frank's story, and as he has a lot on his mind going about, he's retelling the story to us. And this story structure that Scorsese decided to tell upon, we've seen many times before, but for some reason, this is one of the first times that Scorsese kind of tweaked it and did it a little bit differently. Really going through different decades, flashing back and forth, up and past. It changes the dynamic of how the story should be, but it does it in such a non-confusing way that you know exactly how every single piece is going and how it's framing into the whole picture that is being placed in front of you, which again goes over that 3 hour and 29 minute runtime. Yes, 3 hours and 29 minutes. I think that's the one thing that a lot of people are going to be like, that's a little bit too long. And while I was kind of the same way when I heard that, I was still happy, because think about this. When are we ever going to get Pesci, Pacino, and De Niro in a film again, directed by Martin Scorsese? Probably never. But it's awesome that we do have this 3 hours and 29 minutes with them. And for those, that runtime, honestly for me, flew by. Like, it went by really fast. And the only time I truly felt it was in the last 20 minutes, to the point that I was probably just getting a little bit tired that I'd watched the film for that long. But I was locked in the whole time. And so much happens over these couple of decades that the film goes over. So much information is thrown at you. So much story development that it does feel like an epic. And in a sense, I can call this Martin Scorsese's true mobster epic. Yes, we've gotten Goodfellas or Casino from him, but I think this is even top tier, right with them, to a different dynamic, and it actually feels a little bit different. While Goodfellas and Casino told a story in those cohesive moments, and it kind of had like its own layered structure, this again tells a story that spans many decades, many years, and goes over where you're meeting many characters and learning the developments of these people and where they are going within their lives, to a non-predictable moments, but also into a very stylized perfection that Scorsese has done for this film. All that is really encaptured into that runtime, which for me, again, flew by. And there was not one scene in here that I would have taken out. Now, I do understand this is not the runtime for everyone, but I think this is a movie that needs to be felt and seen in the theaters for these reasons, because it's not just the story that's being told over this amount of time. It's the performances within here that really took me by storm. I think that's where I need to start with Robert De Niro. The guy is a phenomenal actor. We know he is, but I have not seen him this good in decades. He is phenomenal in here, to the point where my jaw was dropping. That, like, you know, we see De Niro, but the best performances you can get from an actor is when they transform into the role. And throughout this whole runtime, once I was like, hey, that's De Niro, I forgot about that really fast, and I was like, no, that's Frank. Joe Pesci as Russell, forget about it. He is incredible. And then it even goes to Al Pacino himself, who plays Jimmy Hoffa. Oh my God. Pacino. Give him all the Oscars. Like, right now. Like, honestly, in all ways, every single one of these actors deserves a nomination in their deserved categories. Pacino is incredible in here. One of the best, again. They are giving the best work they have given in decades, and Pacino really is up there for the starring roles. He has those Pacino-isms, but he really delves deeper into there. Robert De Niro has a very subtle emotion to him, especially when he comes to a certain realization towards the third act that was really... It kind of brought a little bit of a tear to me, and then even Pesci. The thing that I loved about what Pesci did in his performance was it is different than something that we have seen him do before, and Scorsese trusted him to do this. He could have easily given him a different role, but he didn't. He gave him this certain special role that really transformed Pesci, and actually to the point where I didn't even notice it was Pesci till the de-aging came in. Which, again, the de-aging is another big factor of this film that was many talks about for how long this film has been in development for. The de-aging works. Very much so. I will say, when it first came into picture, I'm like, oh my god, that looks awesome. Some of the ADR was a little bit messed up, at least in the way that I was kind of perceiving it. I don't know if it was the audio in the theater or whatnot, but some of the ADR was a little bit untouched here and there. But even for me in that point, once it kicks in the first 10-15 minutes, I completely forgot about it, and it just totally transformed into the background of the film, and you forget that these people are DH, and it feels like they had filmed these certain scenes back in the day, which is a big triumph and achievement in its own. One little scene, though, that you can definitely tell was kind of... There's definitely one scene in here, though, that you can definitely tell the de-aging is there, even besides the fact when you first see it, it's kind of in the middle of the film, and you're like, yeah, there's something off about that. I already mentioned how this is a triumph and an achievement in its own, but Martin Scorsese truly deserves an achievement for this film. I've already mentioned this is a mobster epic, something that we've never seen before when it comes to a film style, and something that Scorsese has again perfected through the years, whether it's any sort of mob film or any of his other films that he's done. He's very good at telling a story, and especially we got a little bit of a glimpse of this over Silence, where it was a stylized story told over many decades. Now in The Irishman, we're actually getting that into a more fruition. One of my biggest issues with Silence was it felt a little bit too short, and by the third act, it felt like it was just rushing through many elements. But for me, The Irishman takes its time setting up every character, setting up every scenario, to the point where you have zero questions, but you're still playing along like you were with Frank the whole entire time as he is learning and developing into the mob hitman that he's becoming. Story alone, that Martin Scorsese's direction is what is the true achievement in here. Give him all the Oscars. Give The Irishman all the Oscars. It deserves every nomination across the board, and what Scorsese does in this route is just perfection. And I've already mentioned that he is my favorite director of all time, but when it comes down to this film, he is again making rock and roll as other directors are making just hip hop and pop. He is making this old-fashioned rock and roll and still kicking it. Of course, I need to mention Steven Zaillian's screenplay in here, because if the screenplay was not strong, this film could have definitely gone in a bad route, but I think Steven Zaillian got the perfection of what the screenplay needed to be and the way that the story needed to be told. Plus, from the production design to the score to the cinematography, all that really just captures the set pieces and this time period that we are going through. Before I give you guys my final thoughts on The Irishman, guys, make sure to comment down below. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are. Are you guys excited for this one? Are you not? Are you going to try and find it in theaters? I really hope you guys do. Comment down below that. Hit that like and subscribe button. If you guys are interested in also seeing movies that are like, go check out CM Sean Films as well down below. And thank you to you for clicking on this video, and thank you to my Patreon supporters, because without you, I wouldn't be able to do this. Irishman is a heavy-hitting, emotional film that encaptures many decades of a man's story. This movie is kind of the perfect film for all these performers and even the director Martin Scorsese himself to be doing in their career. And that's one of the most touching aspects of this movie. Yeah, it's long, and it might feel it by the last 20 minutes, but the rest of the film flew by. It gets every detail down to a pat where you don't leave feeling like you have more questions or feeling like it was rushed through a story that you feel like needed more time to be kind of gone through. It's a remarkable triumph and achievement in its own, and Scorsese and everyone across the board deserves the nominations and even the support to them. Delves deeper into a way wiser and older filmmaker in this time period as we go back and look at Goodfellas and The Casino, where it might be a little bit more stylish in that aspect. This film is more occupied with what makes Frank Frank and actually understanding his choices and consequences. It's a movie that I think many of us wanted to see from Scorsese from a very long time. It's a movie that I think we are very much going to dive into and analyze as we're looking at what makes this man as he's growing through the years. Definitely a movie that over the coming years, as we rewatch it, it'll be a movie that grows on us even more. It has a lot more to say than just his One on the Outer Shell. Irishman hits hard truly on this first viewing, and I cannot wait to see this movie again. Again, across the board, everyone did a phenomenal job. Scorsese brings his direction into the most wise that he's ever been. It's a movie that we've wanted to see from him forever now. De Niro, Pacino, and Pesci are excellent and deserve nominations across the board for them. They have not been this good in decades. Just from the opening hour alone, I was in on The Irishman. Sitting there, locked in, kept telling myself, wow, this movie is incredible. So with all that said, I'm going to give The Irishman an A+. God, I love this movie. I cannot implore that enough. The more I keep thinking about it, the more I appreciate it, the more I love it. I just love Scorsese as a director. Like, the guy is one of the best directors of all time, and he's personally still my favorite. Thank you, Marty, for making this film. Thank you for making Wolf of Wall Street as well, because that's my favorite film of all time. Do you guys look forward to a top 10 Scorsese list? That's going to be a lot of fun going through and talking about top 10 of his films, because he's made a lot of films that are all incredible. Like, I've really liked every single movie I've ever seen of his. Thank you guys again so much for watching this, though. Again, hit that like and subscribe button, comment down below, and let me know what your guys' thoughts are. And of course, I hope to see you guys at the movies soon. So until next time, stay classy.